Hello! Future Ben here, and before we get started on tonight's video, I have a major announcement. My debut novel, Falling Through, will be officially available this Saturday, August 6th. To celebrate, I'll be hosting a live stream that day at noon Eastern Time. There'll be games, there'll be prizes, there'll probably be time-traveling shenanigans. Sure, why not? I'll be giving away stickers, magnets, bookmarks, gift cards, and signed copies of my book. Mark your calendars, and I hope to see you there. Hello! I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. This is another episode where my work life will be blending with my writing advice. Specifically, I'm going to be discussing reports that I deliver to clients that need to convey certainty and expertise. Badly communicated details lead to confusion and erode the client's confidence in mine and my team's abilities. This is particularly common when using passive voice instead of active voice, even when the content is extremely similar. Worst case, this leads to a severe issue being disregarded, or hypothetically, a phone call while I'm on vacation where I need to justify my statements for what was an insignificant problem, which has now been blown completely out of proportion. Due to one misinterpreted phrase, the issue was escalated up several levels until the original intentions of my wording was lost. Much like in that last sentence, passive voice has a place in writing, but we should try to avoid it. Otherwise, you might get a call from your boss while on vacation over something that was never a problem. What are passive and active voices, and why do they matter? This is a simplification, but passive voice is when something happens to an object, such as a character, whereas active voice is when an object does something. This is the difference between my car was stolen by my best friend versus my best friend stole my car. I did my best to read those as monotone as possible to remove any bias from how they sounded. The difference was subtle as the first example used passive voice and tends to draw focus to the action, that being the stealing of a car, whereas the second example used active voice and tends to focus on the object, that being my best friend who was committing a crime. The real question should be which is more important to convey within the story. In this example, it didn't matter too much. The passive voice is a little more wordy, but overall the details are similar and neither is confusing. Certain instances of passive voice, though, leave more to be implied and interpreted by the reader. For example, there was another runner in the park this morning versus I saw another runner in the park this morning. In the first example, which used passive voice, readers may assume that I was in the park to see the other runner, but this could lead to different mental images depending on the reader and their biases. By making the subject of the sentence something which is acted on, it drives a wedge between the story and reader due to the added layer of abstraction. As our goal as writers is to suck readers in, overusing passive voice can undo otherwise engaging storytelling. Another issue for writing with passive voice is that it removes intention, which makes it seem like things happen to happen. This gives the impression that they are less important, and by association, less interesting. As with any rule, there are exceptions, and choosing when and how to use passive voice can enhance our writing. Passive voice works best when a person is being intentionally vague or trying to mislead. To avoid blaming a specific person, we can use the neutral politician phrase, "Mistakes happened." By circumventing responsibility, passive voice can be used to spare the person involved. If instead we use active voice to say, "I should not have done that," or "Bob didn't check the harnesses," that takes ownership of a mistake or directly passes the blame onto someone else. Thus, passive voice is an easy trick to create nebulous details or intentionally mislead. However, don't lean too heavily on that. For stories involving the truth, cryptic passive voice can reveal guilty parties to intelligent readers, and it's really annoying to have to wait hundreds of pages for the characters involved to catch up. In Dune and Wheel of Time, there were plot-specific reasons why characters could not lie, or it would be obvious if they did. They got around this by using passive voice to tell half-truths or not tell the whole truth. And the way that they abused this made my eyes roll every time. The villains never killed the heroes, they were merely unable to save them from the harshness of the world. Blech. Whether it's our stories or technical writing, we and our characters should overall precisely convey our thoughts. I find it to be a bad trope when a character uses passive voice to trick another person into an obvious trap. You will be set free once you tell me the secret. Ugh. Who will set them free and how? Oh, what a twist. The disposable person was stabbed to death after revealing the one secret which could bring down the kingdom because setting them free really meant killing them. How could this be improved? Show intent with active voice. A villain monologue is much more terrifying when they are direct, whereas the passive veiled threat, you will be set free, doesn't mean much, and I feel really annoyed at characters who make the wrong assumptions that being set free means just that, instead of that they're going to be killed. Instead, a threat using active voice conveys a stronger villain. For example, I'm going to kill you. The question is, how much will I carve from your flesh before you reveal the royal family's location? That active voice clarified the what and provided intention. One easy check for whether a sentence uses passive voice is to ask, by what? Take the sentence, my leg was mangled. Do the passive voice check by asking, by what? By a dog, by a tractor, by a really thick thorn bush. Unclear. Let's make that active. A rabid dog mangled my leg on my afternoon walk. That sounds grim and gives a clearer mental image. Another check for passive voice is to look for to be words, such as is, are, was, were, will, etc. We can strengthen our prose by shifting from passive voice to a more active voice and removing these unnecessary words. That will have the added bonus of cutting down word counts from otherwise bloated sentences. No writing rule is absolute, and passive voice does have its place. When the object is unknown, passive voice works, such as, my car was stolen. If I knew who did it, I would include more details and a lot of profanity. Though fear not, faithful listeners, because my car wasn't actually stolen, this is just a language example. So passive voice is used to mislead characters and readers. However, if you understand the language and what the author is doing, it feels like a cheap trick. Passive voice can be used to pad word counts by being less direct. The next time you hear a politician speak, listen to their words and consider how they're using passive voice to say nothing at all over the duration of a sentence, if not a paragraph or a full speech. Or consider a public official's meandering phrasing when underneath their fancy language is 3 simple words. I don't know. This isn't a knock on any one person or party in particular, but rather how language can be used to say nothing at all. I do find it ironic how passive voice can be abused by those with authority, as one of its good uses is to convey authority, through means like no loitering or the park closes at sunset. Personally, I also use passive voice to give variance to my sentence structure within my current work in progress. Going back to my video about Pro Writing Aid, I manually go through each flagged instance of passive voice. I like that self-editing check as it forces me to decide whether or not I need that phrasing in there or whether I should rewrite it. However, when I can or when the sentences are unclear, I rewrite them to use active voice. Here are some examples of active voice to leave you with and make you think. The woman ran the race at a sub 7-minute per mile pace. I bought new running shoes, but they didn't lower my time. For this video, I strayed into the nuances of the English language as I felt obligated to clarify multiple misunderstandings based on my experiences at work. I hope you enjoyed me stretching outside my normal comfort zone. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write. Pressing the like and subscribe buttons will be helpful for this channel and show that these stylistic choices are useful. Sorry not sorry. Let me know in the comments if you have an issue with my gratuitous use of passive voice. Do you agree with my opinions, or is everything I said wrong? I post my running and writing progress on Instagram and Twitter as Running to Write, so be sure to follow me and join in with your own thoughts. Don't forget to sign up for my monthly newsletter for regular updates on my assorted musings, pitfalls, and lessons learned. I'll also include relevant milestones in running and writing. See you next time. Until then, cut out that passive voice until you need it.